Pastor Martin Niemöller warned us of the importance of speaking out when we see our rights eroding. He famously wrote about his time in the Dachau concentration camp. First they came for the communists, and I didn't speak out because I wasn't a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I didn't speak out because I wasn't a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I didn't speak out because I wasn't a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I didn't speak out because I wasn't a Jew. And they came for the Catholics, and I didn't speak out because I wasn't a Catholic. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. End of quote. And yes, he was taken to Dachau in 38 or 39 and was liberated in 45. He reminds us of the dangers of not recognizing creeping incrementalism. When small steps are being taken to abridge our rights, and in doing so, they are essentially laying the foundation for not just larger steps, but possibly really radical steps to take away all of our rights or larger chunks of our rights. It's in his book, They Thought They Were Free, Milton Mayer. He quotes a German professor who lived through the Hitler time, who says, if A hadn't led to B and B to C, he said each step was a small incremental step. And he said if they had gone right from A to D, there would have been an outcry. There would have been an uproar. So anyhow, this brings us back to what's happening right now in the media in the United States. When our founders formed our nation, they named only one industry in the United States Constitution. They didn't say that shipbuilding needs to be protected or the agriculture industry or even the arms industry. They didn't even think the legislative branch was that important. But in the First Amendment to the Constitution, our founders wrote that Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. Our founders wanted to protect the press. They realized that freedom of the press was essential. They recognized that a nation could not be strong without a press able to operate outside of the realm of government oversight and control. In fact, Thomas Jefferson once famously said, quote, "We're left to me to decide whether we should have a government without newspapers or newspapers without a government. I should surely not hesitate a moment to prefer the latter." But times have changed since our Constitution was written. And today, what is supposed to be a free press is under attack from our government. Slowly but surely, and I realize I'm sounding like a right-wing talk show host here, but I'm telling you, slowly but surely, our government is infringing upon the rights of the media and eating away at freedom of the press. And nowhere is this more evident than in the ongoing AP leak scandal and with the new revelation that Fox News reporter James Rosen was investigated by the Department of Justice for his coverage of the State Department in North Korea. And in both of these cases, the federal government subpoenaed hundreds of emails and phone call records under the guise of national security. Now, all of this, if you want to make this partisan, we can take this back to George Bush's response to 9/11. And certainly that's where it all started, or much of it. But still, it's going on. And it almost seems like the federal government has forgotten that freedom of the press, if it's going to work, must be nearly absolute. There should be virtually no boundaries to the protection of that right. I mean, it's a sad commentary on our times when I find myself agreeing with Brit Hume, who was the protege of Jack Anderson, if you're old enough to remember him, a brilliant muckraking journalist. I'm agreeing with Brit Hume over at Fox News. But here he was last night, right on point about the federal government's recent intrusion into the workings of the press. I mean, in Fox News' special report last night, here's what Brit Hume had to say.
There are legitimate national security secrets that it is the government's job to protect. And when they leak out, the government has a right and a duty to investigate. But what the government has traditionally done in the past is to investigate the leaker and not, if you will, the leakee. And that provides the balance between the government's job to find out what happened and the press's right to pursue information. That's the way it's been done before. That's the way it seemed to have been going up until now.
Up until now. I mean, traditionally, when there were leaks to the press, the government has investigated, but it investigated the source of the leak. It didn't go after the journalist or reporter who reported on the leak. And when it did it through their organization, and they did it very publicly, like the case of Judith Miller refusing to release her sources on her reporting on Iraq and the WMDs and going to jail when she was working for the New York Times for that principle. Now, you know, I'm no fan of Judith Miller, but that's how it was handled back then. They went to her and they said, will you please tell us who you were talking to? They didn't go through her phone records. But now it appears that our government is going after both the source of the leak and the members of the media reporting on it, and that is not only unprecedented, although I think John Adams probably would have done it, it's unconstitutional. And this should concern us all. I don't want to end up channeling Pastor Niemöller and saying something like, first they came for the AP and Fox News' James Rosen, but I wasn't part of the AP and I didn't much like Fox News, so I didn't speak up. So I'm speaking up now. Freedom of the press needed to be protected in 1787, and it needs to be protected today.